You ever heard of a soft touch? You ever heard of a finger roll? Little sun, little raindrop, and you watch this thing grow. Follow me like a firefly at midnight and mid-July. Mixing blood and sweat and tears of joy. That's what I call the rally cry.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Debt Dad Show. I am your host, Jeff, from AEMoneySolutions.com, where we will run with you through your debt-free journey. In episode 9, we bring you Cash is Queen. She's an Instagrammer, she's a YouTube content provider, and her family paid off $50,000 worth of debt. We're going to learn how she did that, the content she provides on YouTube, and just life in general. Ladies and gentlemen, episode 9 with Cash is Queen. Cash, welcome to the Debt Dad Show, and thanks for joining us today.
Hey Jeff, how you doing? Thank you so much for having me. What an honor. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, no, and I'm really excited to have you because in your conversations and your videos that you put out there on YouTube, you're so fun and you're so energetic. And I'm really excited for you to bring that to the show and to the listeners.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're enjoying. I enjoy it too. It's so awesome to get out there and to get to connect with other people in the debt-free community. It's just such an awesome community. So supportive.
Yeah, it really is. So we'll jump right into it, and let's start with your guys' debt payoff. So why don't you give the listeners an idea of where you guys kind of came from in terms of your debt, how you got to where you guys were in over your heads in debt, and what kind of debt it was and how much you guys had to pay off.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So I guess I'll start with kind of the timeline. So our debt-free journey began in November of 2017, and then we were able to pay off over $50,000, actually $54,000 total in debt in almost exactly 1 year. It was so November 2017, 2018. And so it was, it was shorter, I think, than some people's, but we were very gazelle intense. And so we a little bit of credit cards, vehicles, and then a little bit of the way through, we acquired some medical expenses. And so we kind of had to tack that on. And then we cash flowed some other things too as well while we were doing that.
Right. Did you guys have student loans at all?
We did not. No. And that is something that I actually just did. I just released a YouTube video that was kind of almost begging recent college graduates to not, forget to take the steps to pay off, even though I had no student loans. In fact, this is really kind of sad, and this just shows people out there just how very dumb I am with money. How dumb we all can be sometimes, but my parents actually paid for 10 years of schooling for me, 100%, including my books, including I live with them. I mean, they paid for everything for me, so that I would not have debt.
Right.
Yeah.
Fortunate for you, unfortunate for the way you guys kind of went about getting into debt. But.
Yeah. I mean, I was reckless, and, through those being in school and then being out of school, and, rather than being smart with the new income that we had as I got and everything, I just going. And I think that just shows that it really does not matter how much money you make.
It doesn't.
You spend what you make. And so You can have the best income or you can have a small income, and it doesn't matter. You can still find yourself absolutely broke, which is exactly where we were at.
Yeah, and we were in that same boat when I was working for a different company and I was making
Mhm.
less than what I am now.
Mhm.
And I thought I needed to make a move partially because of the monetary reasons. And when I
Yeah,
made that move, it didn't make a difference to
absolutely.
us. We
It
just
doesn't, because we
had
just
more
spend
money to
it.
spend. Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's,
Yes, we did the
I
same
heard somebody
thing.
make a comment, and yeah, I've commented about it before on Instagram, and I think in some of my other podcast episodes that, you know, people say, "Oh, you made $200,000," but there's lots of people that make $50,000 and do the same thing that we've done.
Oh yeah.
But there's lots, right? So it doesn't really matter if you make 50 or 150. It's how you live within your means and how you're able to control your spending.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. I mean, you have to control it no matter what. And so that was just kind of the pitfall that we fell into. And then we kind of hit a point where, we weren't going to get saved anymore. We weren't going to have the next thing that would kind of swoop in just in time to rescue us. And
Yeah.
something had to change. But yeah, I mean, it was a long year, and it continues to be. We're in baby step 3 right now on the Dave Ramsey plan of building our emergency fund, but we're about at a third of the way through that now. But
Right.
we were very gazelle intense. But yeah, it took us about a year, just over a year, to get all of that paid off, and then yeah, here we are. So I'm so pleased that we found this program and that it kind of just turned us around in a 180
Yeah,
very
that's
quickly.
exciting. Yeah. So did you guys, while you were doing your debt-free journey, did you do anything to fast track your debt payoff? Did you sell anything? Did you get second jobs, or you guys just hammer down on it?
Well, that's such a good question. And I don't think that I have actually given myself enough credit for the extra little things that we did, because we didn't go get extra side jobs or anything like that. My
Right.
husband, we have a family business, and he already was working just, I mean, a ton of hours already as it was. And then I work also, and we have 2 little ones at home. And so we just, finding more time to work, there just was no more time. This was the problem. We always had that mindset that we'll just go make more money.
Yes.
And we just could not do any more than we were doing. And so and we didn't need to. We had a good income. That was not our problem. We had a great income. We just needed to stop spending more than we should,
Right.
and stop being irresponsible. And so um we did just kind of buckle down and really start cutting back and living within our means, and making sure that we left enough in the budget for debt payoff,
Right.
and now towards savings. But we did do some little things that actually do add up now that I look back at it. I started cutting my own kids and my husband's hair, and
Right.
I got really pretty good at it.
Yeah.
And I am blonde, and I am fake blonde. Um, and I used to be super, super blonde. And this may be hard for you to appreciate, but all the ladies out there listening, if ladies out there, you know what it's like. If you dye your hair regularly, or if you highlight it or whatever, you got to keep up on that, and it's expensive. And I mean, I just don't even hardly recognize myself anymore, because I used to be in the salon spending $100 or $150 getting my hair done every 4 to 6 weeks.
Yep.
And I fully just have let my hair grow out. I mean, I'll go months and months without doing it. And just that alone of cutting back on hair expenses, just that alone has saved us several $1,000s, I'm sure. Since when we started. And then other things, just every little bit adds up, finding ways to cut down on electricity. And, the food budget was a huge one.
Yep.
That was one of the biggest areas that we spent, that and entertainment.
Right.
And so, all of the strategies, like You know, I really practice Sunday meal prep and zero food waste. You know, I would just throw away tons and tons of food every week. And so I really have tried to practice zero food waste, and that has saved us a fortune. You know, I have my food networking plan that I kind of came up with. That's a good complement to that. And it's just kind of enables not only saving money, but also saving time, because time is money, you know, where,
Right.
you know, you kind of do the meal prep on the weekend, and you know, you purchase a meat, if you know, at the cheapest price that you can, and you make it all at once and you split it out between meals. And I've got a bunch of videos on my YouTube channel about food prep and how to cut back on the food budget,
Right.
because that was a killer for us.
Yeah.
And then entertainment, I mean, oh my gosh, we would spend a fortune on entertainment before. I mean, just shocking. I look back at what the numbers must have been, and I just I can't even believe it.
We're the
So
same here. Yeah, our stories sound very, very similar in a lot of the things that
I know
we've done.
you're both of our debt-free journeys, I think, are very similar amount of money we both paid off, similar, you know, time frame, all of that. Yeah, I think we're very, very
And
similar.
we used to do the same thing with food prep. Sunday
Mm-hmm.
nights, we'd get together and we'd make 15, 20 meals.
Exactly.
We'd
Yes.
freeze them. And because at that point, when we were paying off our debt, I had a second job
Mm-hmm.
doing food delivery. So
Oh,
I'd get home at, 6 at night, and we'd have a quick dinner and put the girls to bed, and I was gone till like 12 or 1 in the morning.
oh man, you're awesome.
And so we
You
did that
killed
like
it.
5 or 6 nights a week for like
Oh
a
my
year, and it
gosh.
was really, it's people need to realize it's worth it, but it's
Yes.
a really tough journey to get there. We had a really, really tough year of basically my wife being a single parent.
Yes.
A lot of the time
It
it's a
is.
struggle, but it's
It
worth
is
it.
very, very hard. It is incredibly hard, but I don't know. I don't know if you felt this way, but it kind of made me realize how strong we actually are, and, you know, how much we really can take for a period of time.
Right.
Because, you know, I think we just kind of get in that trap of comfort. You know,
Yep.
like I just want to go. I work really hard. I just, you know, I worked late tonight. We're just gonna swing by and grab dinner, or, you know, I'm just gonna treat myself this weekend or whatever. And I just think that kind of makes us sort of soft, you know.
Yeah,
And
it's always
we
easier
gotta
to take the
toughen
easy
up a little
route.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
always. And but the easy route never has the benefit. The best things in life always have the hardest route.
Right.
And it's worth it though. It's worth it.
is.
And don't you feel like now that you've done it, that it was like a blip on the radar, and you look back and you go, whoa, that was a crazy year. Okay, I'm glad that's done.
It's
But
exactly that. So that's the thing, when you're going through it, it feels really long and it feels really
Yes.
tough. But then, like you
Yes.
said, when you are done and you look back at it now and you're like, it really wasn't that tough. Yes, it was a tough year, but it's a tough year it's a small percentage out of the life that you live to
Yes,
live
and I mean, we were living tough before that. I mean,
Yes, yeah.
we were always so stressed and so, you know, pressed for money, and you know, it's not like we were out doing awesome things. We weren't going on amazing vacations or anything. I mean, we were, you know, we were just doing normal stuff, just stupid stuff.
Yes.
And so it's not like that was a paradise either.
No.
So I don't know. We ratcheted up a little bit. It was a little bit more painful than the normal, but now, having done that, it's so much less painful now.
Right.
And I almost feel like it was kind of a rite of passage. You know, like I feel like us as adults, we have a couple of things that we do in our life, or have the opportunity to do in our life. Not everyone will do all of them, but I almost feel like there's a few things in life that are sort of a rite of passage. Getting married, maybe, you know, finishing school, whether that's high school or college, having kids. I almost kind of feel like this was, for me, a rite of passage, because this was something I never ever thought I would conquer. I never realized that I could have control over finances. And so to conquer that and to have such a feeling of control, it gave me like this superhuman feeling, like I could do anything. So
Yes, it is. It's funny to look back at it, because you look at it, and when we were in debt, I was always like, it'll eventually get paid off, and I will eventually get paid off. And
yes,
I don't know
yeah.
if you ever really think then it'll get paid off. You know, like you just like, it's
Yeah,
always gonna
I
be there,
didn't.
it's always going to be there. But then,
Yeah, I didn't. I always thought that we would have debt. I mean, it never even occurred to me that that there wouldn't be a car payment and I wouldn't be fighting my credit card bill ever. I
yeah,
thought we would have it. It's great. And I think that's a normal thing I think most people think that.
right. So leading off of that point, then there's always, when people go on the debt-free journeys, there's always a tipping point of where, you know, they're drowning and they can't take it anymore. And like Dave Ramsey says, you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. So what was it for you guys that triggered that light that went off for you guys to decide that we have to do this?
Yeah. So this is a great question. You know, as you listen to a lot of YouTubers and you see a lot of people on Instagram and things, a lot of people do have a really huge moment in their life where it is this pivotal thing where they are just so done. And for me, I think that kind of happened over as we got going. I got more and more disgusted with how I've been living. But I guess the pivotal moment that happened was a coworker of ours gave us, everyone in our office, a copy of The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. And
Okay.
I liked her. So, you know, it kind of sat there for a week or whatever. And then I was bored one evening. The family had gone to bed. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to read this book for a minute. And I was up all night long reading it, kind of like taking a trip into the future of realizing, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I am totally ruining my life right now. And I had no idea. So
Ding, ding, right? Mind blown.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the scary part is that I think that we were right on that bubble. We were right on that tipping point where it was going to go downhill and it was going to go fast because like I was kind of saying before, we make a good income, you know, but we had been kind of having all along the way, we'd kind of kept getting saved. Like we would get a good tax refund. And so that would kind of dig us out. And then one of us would get a raise and that would kind of dig us out. And then, you know, we would just kind of get these little windfalls. Like my husband, a good commission month, and that would kind of buy us some time. And then, you know, just these little things that happen as you work your way up through your career and that kind of thing. And then we both kind of hit the top where it's like, there's not a whole lot more room for us to go. And we had bought a new house and, you know, cars, and it just, we were just like pushing the gas pedal down on what we were doing that was crazy. And, you know, kind of stalling on how much really more we could do to make more money. We were out of time, we were out of resources, you know, and so reading book, it was like everything came to a screeching halt. And I am so beyond grateful that my coworker gave me that book, because we would still be doing the same thing. And we might have still gotten here because I think we would have crashed and burned. But I'm just so grateful that we caught it right before it got to that breaking point, because we were headed there, no doubt.
Literally changed your life.
Oh, yeah. And in the night. I mean, I woke up, you know, I went to bed at probably like 4 a.m. that night. I had read the whole thing, and my husband, you know, I woke up the next day, my husband like, what is going on? And I'm like, we got to do something here. I was panicked. I was completely panicked.
Yeah. I was the same way. I listened to the audio book in one night.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I listened to it and I went to my wife and I said, we're doing this.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing. And she was on board because that's the way she was before we got married.
Oh, we are similar. My husband.
I kind of I think I converted her.
Yeah, his family is very, very frugal, you know, and I'm really like, this makes me feel even more dumb about it all, because I kind of led us into debt. You know, I was really the one who would be irresponsible. Not my husband liked to do stuff, and I mean, he would certainly participate with me, and he would, you know, but he was always the one going, oh man, what are all these shopping bags? And oh my gosh, what's happening? And, you know, so he was very relieved and right on board also.
So based on that, I've talked before about financial infidelity.
Yes.
I used to lie to my wife all the time about stuff that I would not that I bought it, but she'd be like, oh, you bought a new hockey stick. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, how much did that cost? And it
Mhm.
might have cost $100, but I'm like, oh, it was
Yeah.
like $60. And I
Yeah.
always lied. I always would tell her it was less because I felt like she would feel better about it.
Yeah,
But
and like we
it's
can protect
financial infidelity is like
something.
yeah, it's like a real thing.
Yeah.
So did you have that when you went shopping and would buy stuff?
Well, I mean, I would come home with things, and I mean, I think the worst that I would do is that I would never check with my husband beforehand. I would just go do it, and I would never say anything. And then at the end of the month, you know, we would go to the credit card bill, and he'd be like, "What in the world is this? You have spent a fortune." Gosh, you know,
Yeah.
and so then I would have to, you know, try to make it up to him and make promises that I keep. And so, yeah, I mean, for sure, guilty of absolutely avoiding, you know, saying what the truth was. And what's so stupid is that it's right there, you know, when you and the bill comes out, it's right there. It doesn't change anything, but we, you know,
Yeah.
we fake ourselves out.
Yeah. So the first time that I didn't lie to my wife, I was working out. I was going to the gym at lunch, and some of the stuff I was doing, I felt like I needed a better runner.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to get the runners, and normally in the past I would have just gone and bought the runners, and it wouldn't
Yeah.
have been a big deal. She wouldn't have cared. But I
Yeah.
called her on the way, and I could have gone straight to the mall to get them,
Yeah.
or I could have gone down the other fork in the road and stopped by her work. So I decided I'll just go to her work, and I said, listen, told her the
It's
story.
kind
I
of
don't really want to pay more.
like a pivotal moment where it's like I have two
Yes.
choices here. A defining moment. What am I going to
It
do?
totally was. And
Yes.
she would have been okay with it either way if I
Sure.
would have gone and bought them, but it was showing the respect that it was our money.
Yes.
You know, it wasn't just my money to spend, it's our money to spend.
Yes.
So
Well, and I feel like it's one of
But,
those things where, you know, it's great to have accountability, it's great to have motivation and all these things. At the same time, we are responsible for our own selves, and it's the only thing that we can control.
right.
Kind of can't do for anyone else. We can't do it because anyone else wants us to, or because, you know, they think we should. We have to buy in ourselves, and we have to be strong no matter what. And,
Right.
you know, so in a sense, you kind of have to get used to doing it alone. You know, not that you don't have help and that you shouldn't take that help, but it's those moments where, like, you have the choice. She went with it either way. You know, it would have been okay, but it was the right. You decided, and you were being accountable to you, and then to
Right.
your family also.
Right.
So important. Because in
Totally.
those
So-
moments when you're weak, you know, you have to be able to stay in control. You know, your
Yeah.
your spouse can't always be there to say, no, let's not do that, or to talk you off the ledge, you know.
Right.
So we kind of have to have that control even in our deepest, most alone moments.
Yeah. So through your guys' journey, did you guys ever have to use your emergency fund?
We never used our emergency fund. We came really close on a whole bunch of different occasions. I mean, our house was, I swear it was like, you know, you better stay on that budget. I'll do it. And so, I mean,
See, and again, it sounds so similar to us
yeah,
with
Yeah.
appliances and stuff. They
it's like our
sounded like
dishwasher was,
Same.
our dishwasher broke, our washing machine broke twice. We had a toilet that went out. I mean, oh my gosh, just a huge amount of things that went wrong. But then my husband ended up getting a kidney stone and was in the hospital for like all day and all night. And then he had surgery. And so we got hit with it. I think it was like $8,500 or $9,000 of a bill.
Right.
And so we didn't like put that on a credit card or anything. I worked that out with the hospital to, you know, no interest or anything to make payments. And then we have a health savings plan. And so I didn't have enough in there to pay it off, but enough came in with each check that we never had to take it out of our budget or anything. So in a
Right.
sense that was kind of cash flowed almost, but I mean, technically it was debt, you know, but we didn't
Yeah.
touch our emergency fund for it. We just kind of used health savings fund. So luckily it didn't affect our budget, but yeah, that was a nasty one. But no, I really feel like a lot of this was, and it was kind of weird. And I mean, don't think I'm crazy, but I swear it would be like when I would be bad, you know, and then something would happen. It literally got to the point where I was almost like laughing at myself because I would do something stupid and I'd be like, please God, please don't get me. And he would, he'd be like, no, you take that thing back or I'm going to keep this dishwasher broken, you know? And then I'd take the thing back and my husband would come home and there it would go and he would get it rolling and, you know, so it's just, yeah, it's funny, but luckily, you know, and I really do think it's enough. The $1,000, I do. I think it's enough. We had a little bit, but
Right.
no, I think the funny thing is that people get so freaked out about only having $1,000. But if we
It's
really
supposed
look
to
at
freak
it,
them out.
that's more than any of us ever had before we
Yeah.
started the debt-free journey. I had zero money in savings.
We
In
were the
fact,
same.
maybe on credit cards.
We couldn't have paid for any emergency if we would have had to put on a line of credit or a credit card because we
Oh, literally, a
wouldn't
$5
have had the cash.
emergency. No, I mean, a $5 emergency, I would not have had the cash for. I would have put it on the
Yeah.
credit card. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I really, really think it's the $1,000. It is scary, but it's meant to make you run. You know, run out of debt as fast as you can, like your hair's on fire. And
yeah, it's supposed to scare you. You should be scared that you only have $1,000, but like you said, you probably didn't have that before, so
yeah, I mean, none of us had that before.
be happy that you have 1,000.
Yeah, exactly. That's a lot more.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how, you know, a lot of emergencies really do come in around that or less. So,
Right. Yeah.
it's okay. I think Dave Ramsey's plan works for millions of people out of debt. And, you know, I think it's just wise to, you know, just follow right up those steps.
Right. So, do you remember when you guys paid off your last payment? Do you remember that?
I'm sorry, say one more time.
When you guys paid off your last payment, you paid your last payment to get out of debt. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That
so
was
were you
my
guys?
husband. It was my husband's truck. And
Yeah.
that thing, it was the bane of my existence. This stupid freaking truck. Let me tell you what. Here's how dumb we are. You ready for this one? So we would pay it down like crazy, and then we would go pull out money against it, cards or whatever, you know. And then we ended up paying for this stupid truck for way longer than even the loan was for because we kept doing this. Did that like 2 or 3 times along the way. And so when that on, I mean, it was huge, and it kind of caught me off guard because we had like a commission in sooner than we thought, and that was the last amount. And so I was kind of anticipating it would be like the next month, and all of a sudden it was there, and I was like, oh my gosh, okay, this is it, let's go do it. And so we went to the bank, and you know, my mom was there, and
That's fun that you guys did that
surreal,
together.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was just amazing.
So was it? Are you an emotional person? Was it emotional?
Oh,
for
good
you,
Lord! I cried like a baby. Yes.
Yeah.
It was all I
I
could
did
do
the same
not to
thing.
cry
Yes.
like a fool.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's you know when it means something to somebody when they can, that emotion just comes flowing out of them, and it's
Oh yeah. Yes. Oh, it is. It's such an
would-
emotional thing. It's such an emotional journey. And I think I think that's why it kind of going back to it being like a rite of passage. It is. I mean, it does that to you, and it should. You should cry. You should feel those emotions because it's hard work. And anyone who does this has just changed their life. It literally has just changed their life and the lives of their children. And, you know, who knows how many other people by accomplishing this. And
totally, yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't we? You know, this is why I love the debt-free screams. You know, they're just so like raw and guttural. You know, at least the good ones are.
I love hearing those
hear
good ones where you hear that raw emotion, and then there's the other people who don't. It's like, yeah, it was nothing.
Yeah,
They just have those really minor little screams, but I love them.
You gotta roar.
Yeah.
You gotta roar that stuff out, you know. Yeah, it is. It's emotional, and absolutely. I mean, I felt like I was gonna burst. I really did.
Yeah, I was the same. So when you guys were before you guys did your budget, did you have or before you started your debt free journey, did you have a budget?
Oh no.
No.
No, oh no. No, I mean,
Seat of your
Not
pants
only
kind of.
did we not have a budget, I quite literally had no clue. I mean, no clue how much we were spending, how much we
Right.
could spend, to the point that I was so terrified to spend any cash, because I kind of knew that we could like make our minimums on everything with our cash
Right.
flow, and anything extra, even groceries, gas, I mean, anything. I would be so terrified to actually pay cash for it or put it on the debit card or write a check that I literally put every single thing I purchased on a credit card because I was that clueless. I literally did not have any clue if we would be okay if I spent any money at all. But that just almost gave me permission to do whatever because I'm like, you know,
We can make the minimums.
Right.
it
So
was just such a backwards way of thinking.
one of the, I think it was when you were on your doing one of your Instagram live feeds,
Mm-hmm.
you had talked about putting everything on your credit card. And
Yes.
I found it really funny because I used to do the same thing, and I think I know why I did it, but what was the reason that you did it? Just because you didn't know that
Well-
you had money or not? Was that?
Yes, I mean, because I was so scared and because I had no clue how much, I mean, I knew how much money we made and I knew what our bills were, but I don't know. I had never like really taken the time to sit there and put it. I would try to. I just would not. I mean, I would know what the basic bills were, but we would spend so much random money on so many random things that I really just could not get an actual accounting of how much we needed and what was even a reasonable grocery budget or a reasonable my view of it was so skewed. It was absolutely unreasonable. I did not have a rational understanding of it.
Right.
And so it was just so terrifying to me because at least I had that comfort of knowing that we would have enough to pay our bills and the minimum credit cards if I just never bought anything out of the debit card.
That's the exact reason why I think I did it, was because
Yeah.
it wasn't my money.
Right.
At
And
some
that's
point,
right. Isn't that so crazy?
at some point it was going to be my money, and it was my money. But at that
Yes.
time, it's not my money. I don't need. Why would I spend my money
Yeah.
when I don't have to spend my money?
Exactly. Well, that's what's so funny
But
is kind of flipped for me is because before, I mean, if I happened to have $1 in my wallet, I would hang on to that. I could not spend cash. I
Yeah.
could not do it. I mean, I could not part with it. And I don't know. I mean, I really do think, Dave Ramsey talks about how, you really spend the cash, you're going to feel it.
Yeah.
That was certainly true for me.
Yeah.
And now I can't, even using my debit card, I feel guilty. I feel so much better just having cash, just using cash. I know I can visibly see how much cash is still there. I can, I know it's gone and it's fine. And I've gotten used to letting go of the cash. And now it's given me a better understanding of, when you just swipe that card and that's it, and but when you see that cash, it kind of gives you a better understanding of just what is occurring in this transaction here.
Right. Yeah. And I've talked to my wife about that before, with when the time comes for us to get a new vehicle.
Yes.
I have a really tough time giving somebody a large chunk of cash. It's gonna be really hard for me to do that. And at some point
Yes.
we're gonna have to do it, but
Yeah,
that's why it's so easy just to have a car payment.
that's right. I feel the same.
Because
That
again,
will
it's
be
not
hard.
you're buying a payment. It's nothing else. But when you actually physically give somebody $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, you're giving them
Oh, yeah.
$20,000.
I know.
Oh.
It's so much, but don't you think that that's going to make us make better car choices, because
Totally, it will.
I think whereas before I would just go like buy a really nice car, like whatever, I'll just, I'll have that thing. And, now when I spend the cash, I know for sure the next time around that I buy a car, I'm going to be like, I don't want to let that money go. I'm finding something cheaper,
Yes.
So I think it's just the pain of it is a blessing. It is.
So
It keeps you in check,
when you had mentioned it previously, you were talking about the debt-free journey changing changing somebody's life. And my wife was talking to some friends of ours and talking about that, and it came up that yes, it changes your life, but I think the way we look at it is the goal is to change not only our lives but our kids' lives, and hopefully our kids take the same stuff that we've done and keep it going with their kids if they decide to have them, and you build family wealth.
Yes.
You build generational wealth, and that's how it starts. And we might not be the wealthy ones.
Yes.
I would
Absolutely.
hope that our end
Yes.
goal is for our kids and our kids' kids to be the wealthy ones and have the money to be able to do whatever they want to do whenever they want to do it.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
could not agree more. I saw the best quote the other day, and I can't quote it exactly, but it was something to the effect of, you know, you are sitting in the shade of a tree from someone who planted it long ago, who would never appreciate the shade of that tree, basically. And, you know, but we know what we're doing, and we will appreciate the benefits of it. I already appreciate the benefits of
Right.
it, but absolutely, you know, I feel really proud that in a world where, you know, the status quo is broke and living paycheck to paycheck and everything is about the looks,
Right.
and, you know, just costs going up and up and up, and just insecurity all around, you know, with the world as it is, that I am creating something for my family that will be a legacy, that will protect them.
Right.
You know, I will actually have the money to protect us, shield us from
Right.
things that can happen, and train them, but also leave them. Hopefully, the goal is to leave them with a lot of money, but the wisdom to treat it right.
Right.
And
I
to
get
keep it
chills when
growing.
you were talking about that. But I
Yeah.
think a lot of times when
It's huge.
legacy is the word legacy, you want to leave a legacy, I think it just kind of floats
Yes.
around, and I don't know if people really think about it, but that's what it is. And leaving that legacy is building something for yourselves, but also building it for your kids and your kids' kids and your kids'
Yes.
kids. And like I said, building that generational wealth, all that, so your
Yes.
kids, your grandkids, and their kids are able to do whatever they want to do and need to do, and there's no stress on them.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, it's my worst fear to, you know, not be able to protect my kids
Right.
from something. And it very easily could happen. I mean, we've set up their little lives to where they're pretty comfortable, and, you know, at any moment something can change. You just don't know.
Right.
And it's so terrifying to me to think that it's, you know, just that quick that all of that could be gone. And, you know, so I am proud that we have removed that risk that we put them under.
Right.
You know, it's not just us. I mean, we can suffer and that's fine, but our little precious babies, you know, they're so innocent, and, you know, they just don't deserve to be at risk.
Right.
And that's exactly what we were doing, all so that I could have a freaking pair of shoes that I wanted. You know, it's
Right.
just so dumb. It's so dumb. And I'll have those shoes, you know, but not at the expense of my kids' college fund.
Right.
And, you know, my ability to put them in, you know, some sports lessons that are going to have an amazing outcome for them, and teach them lessons that I can't teach them, and, you know, be able to give them that leg up when they need it. And, you know, it's really huge. And I love that you said that. Like, we just throw these words around, like the word legacy, the word wealth, you know, all these words that just get thrown around. And if you stop and sit and think about it for a minute, it will blow your
Yeah.
mind when you just think how big that word is,
Yeah.
and how powerful it is.
So
I love that.
I find it funny again that you mentioned the shoes, because my wife was in Texas last week, visiting her cousins, and she was telling me a story about a necklace that she saw at this store, and it was on sale, and it was a really good deal, and they were like, "Oh, you should just buy it.
Yeah.
You should just buy it." And she's like,
Yeah.
"No, it's just a necklace. I have lots of necklaces. Do I
Yeah.
really like it? Yeah, but I don't really need it, and there's more important
Yeah.
things that we can spend that money on. It's just stuff. People get
Oh,
so
yeah.
consumed by
It's
stuff."
just stuff. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and let me just clarify. I mean, I am up on a big old high horse right now.
but but I mean, I still continue to have weak moments all the time, but at least I'm learning from them.
Right.
And we've gotten far enough along now that we have that protection against us, and it's okay to mess up every once in a while. It's okay. It's just the messing up every day that we can't do anymore. And so I can sit here and say, "Oh yes, I'm so amazing." I'm not going to sacrifice a pair of shoes. So no, sometimes I'm really weak, even still, and I do buy those shoes, and I feel real guilty about it, and I'll post on it and go, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I did this." But at the end of the day, you can have those moments where you stall, but it's a marathon.
Right.
You're, as long as you're moving forward, that's what we're after, and we're
Oh,
human, and it's
yeah.
okay.
I'll lead into something.
We can't let that throw us off.
Yeah, I'll lead into something with that. It's a funny little story, but so
Yeah.
you have two kids.
Yes.
Are there is there anything that you guys are doing with them? Because I know they're probably old enough, or they're getting to that age where
Oh yeah.
they can be taught. And is there anything that you guys are teaching them now so they don't follow in the footsteps that you guys previously were in, and trying to get them to do the things that you
Absolutely.
guys are doing now? So what are some of those things?
Absolutely. I mean, yes, I think a lot of the normal stuff that I think people would say, the things like we do when our kids get, birthday money, or they get their commissions or whatever. They do have their little separate envelopes, or my sons have little wallets,
Right.
and they put some into each category,
Right.
all of that kind of stuff. But I'm a huge believer in sort of your internal thoughts. And what are your internal thoughts? I really believe that our internal thoughts are the things that we hear all the time, every day. And unfortunately, the message that we receive every day, all day long, from every angle is take on debt. You need more. You're not good enough. Buy that thing. It's almost gone. All
Everywhere.
of these things
Yeah.
that we are hit with from every angle, every minute of the day. And so, in addition to doing kind of the more typical things, I think that we do, we talk about it. We've been very upfront with them about our debt-free journey, and how, this is what we've done, and this is why it was wrong, and this is how it put us at risk, and we never do this. But I full on let them listen to, podcasts in the car, and, I will have my Dave Ramsey going when they're in there,
Oh, we're
and
so
my kids
similar.
listen to it. It's so funny.
We're so
Yeah,
similar.
they do. They totally listen.
My kids
Yes,
do the
and my
debt-free
kids
screams
talk to
when
me
they're
about
on.
it. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
so do
Yeah.
my younger son has got some pipes. Let me tell you what, he would blow the doors off of the car doing his debt-free scream. It's so cute. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so funny because I kind of forget. I don't think about it. I just have to keep this going in my mind all the time. I have to immerse myself in it, because I'm still changing my deep internal thoughts. I have my beliefs
Yeah.
and what my goals are, but kind of still those underlying automatic thoughts still get me every once in a while.
Right.
It's really improved a lot, but I'm still working on it in certain areas. And I think I probably always will,
Yep.
need that constant reminder. But I think that exposing them to it from a young age hopefully will counteract all these messages that they're hearing, and will help them to see that as stupid and not take it as fact.
Right.
And, we just never realize that they're listening. But my sons will pipe up, and, there'll be a word. So, Mom, what's a 401k? From the back seat. I'm like, oh, you are listening. Okay, yeah. They listen.
Yeah.
They hear it.
It's
So
it is. It's
expose
important.
them to it. Just let them see what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have our little visual tracker, and they, we have one for our baby step 3, and we let them go, and on a nice day in the spring, they went and collected a bunch of rocks, and each rock would represent $100.
Right.
And then we let them throw the rocks in, every month when we move the money over.
Right.
And so we try to involve them as much as possible. But I really think that having open, honest conversations about it is really helpful. And then just letting them hear a lot of a different, point of view
Right.
than what they are hearing, because they are not getting that point of view anywhere else.
Right. So you were saying before that, sometimes you mess up and you go buy stuff, but I feel
Yeah.
like because you guys have gone through that journey, and you're budgeting, and you are debt free,
Yes.
you're paying cash for it. So it's not completely messing up. You're buying something with cash, and I bring that up.
That's true.
I bring that up
I would
because
never put anything on debt.
before we
Yes.
went to
Mhm.
Disneyland, my wife went out and bought a little tiny purse so she could have it with her in the park and not carry around something huge. And she had my
Yes,
my
absolutely.
oldest daughter with her, was 5 at the time, and she's now 6. But she said, "Mom, you already have a bunch of purses." If
Yeah.
she goes, that's
I
not
know.
a need.
Out of the
That's a
mouths
want.
of babes.
Yeah, that's not a need. That's
Yes.
a want. And maybe if you didn't have
Yes.
purses, maybe it would be a need. So she kind of gave her the
Yes.
gears about it, but she kind of explained to her that, it's
I know.
it's
My
okay
kids do that
sometimes to
me
buy
too.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is okay. You know what? It's more than okay.
Yes.
And I really love Dave Ramsey's philosophy that, we need to give, we need to save, and we need to spend.
Right.
We don't want to, he talks a lot about people who are like go too far in the direction of saving, where they kind of hold on to their money with a closed fist.
Right.
And it's hard to give with a closed fist, and it's hard to receive with a closed fist too.
Right.
And so, you can just kind of be that hold up in your house person that never enjoys life. But, I think for me, where I'm at currently, I've enjoyed life enough. I have way enjoyed life to the point that I was $50,000 in debt. And so, I've gotten to have that fun, and, particularly through baby step 2, but then moving into baby step 3, I totally relaxed for a couple months.
Yep.
And we only had a couple $1,000s saved after 4 months.
Right.
On baby step 3. And it suddenly hit me because I was listening to Dave Ramsey. I swear he's like talking right to me, and I had the ears to hear it for a second. And he was saying, all the way through baby step 3, run.
Right. Yeah.
He's like, you're still broke. You still aren't safe. And I was like, dang, I'm not safe. So we do have certain amounts that we kind of earmark for some spending and for some things that we need, and even for some wants here and there. But I really do think that once we hit, baby step 4, 5, and 6, I definitely will enjoy some spending.
Right.
And it will be a want, but it's important to understand that it is a want and to call it what it is.
Right.
But there's no shame in spending money. It's just about being wise with it and being intentional about it.
Right.
And then it's okay.
Right.
Absolutely.
So a couple days ago, we had a little chat, and we were talking about the dumbest things we had ever done with money.
Yes.
I think we could probably do something on Instagram with this, where maybe we can each list
Oh,
the
I
top
love
5
that
dumbest things, and then
idea.
maybe we'll just do a little vote process on there, and
yes,
what
let's
people-
do. Okay, everybody out there, you got to go on and vote.
but
You got to go on and vote and say who was dumber.
so in some of my previous episodes, I've kind of dove headfirst into some of the really dumb things I've done. But I think it's important for people to know that stuff, for them to feel like
It is.
they're not the only ones who've done dumb stuff. People all around them have done dumb stuff, and people all around them are in debt. But it's just that
Yes.
it's embarrassing to talk about, so nobody ever really talks about that stuff. And people think, oh, they're doing
It's
so
so
good. Look
true.
at how well they're doing. But chances are that they're probably drowning just as badly as you are.
Oh, yeah. I think Dave Ramsey says 7 out of 10 people in America are living paycheck to paycheck.
I think that's what
Like,
the stat is.
literally
Yeah.
could not live for 2 weeks without a paycheck.
Right.
We were there.
So,
We were
and
totally
yeah,
there.
so were we.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
I'm
How
gonna-
how great is that? No.
I'm going to ask you right now, what do you think is the dumbest or one of the dumbest things you've done with money or financially?
Oh, man. I mean, I just have so many to choose from. What do I even say? I have big ones and I have little ones. And, it's everything from, like I mentioned before, taking out money from equity on a vehicle to be paid off, to pay down credit cards just so you can turn around and rack them up again, or having 2 credit cards and playing the game where you got one, where you have 0% interest for 18 months. And so you pay off the second card with that, pay off in air quotes.
Right.
And then you spend those months paying it off while you rack up the other one that was at 0. And then you just juggle that.
Right.
All the way down to the little ones, like, I would go spend $300 at Costco on beautiful groceries. I would throw half of them away. And while I was at Costco, we would go ahead and stop and buy lunch.
Yep.
You know, I mean, I heard you say on one of your podcasts that you took out money from your 401k. I didn't even have a 401k.
Yeah, just so the people in Canada listening, that's an RSP, yeah. But the retirement savings accounts.
Yes, your retirement. You took money of I didn't even fund my retirement, and I had an employee match. Oh my gosh, Jeff! I'll tell you what. Oh, if I could go back.
I only had that.
Oh, I missed out on so much, but it's okay.
I only had that because the company I worked for at the time automatically withdrew. It wasn't a choice. They just automatically took it off my paychecks. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had that money. But two times I took out $15,000 each to try and pay off debt. And again, I talk about this all the time, but you're curing the symptom. You're not curing the disease. You're drowning in so much debt that you're like.
Well, I love that. I love when Dave Ramsey says, you know, you can take out you can consolidate your loans, or you can take out a 401k loan, or you know, your retirement loan or whatever, and you're just moving it around. It's still there. But I literally did have myself, you know, tricked into thinking that when I made these stupid money moves, I was helping myself. And actually I was just setting myself up to do it all again. You know, if I just taken the pain and let that money sit there on the credit card at 28% interest, I might have gotten my butt in gear faster. But, you know, but they do this on purpose because they know that we fall for this stuff. We're going to trick ourselves and tell ourselves it's okay. And, you know, it's just such a vicious cycle that we get into.
See, and ours weren't loans. We just took it out of that account.
Yeah.
So we had the ability to pull it out of retirement early, but then we get taxed at 30%. So
exactly.
I pull out 15,000. I end up getting something like 8 or 9 out of it.
Exactly. And it's the same here, but then they also add another, I believe it's another 10% penalty onto that. And then another really good point that Dave Ramsey makes is that if you happen to leave your job or you get fired or something like that, it's due in full right then. And so,
see, and that's different.
You know,
that's really different for us. We just pull it out and then it's done.
Yeah.
There's nothing to pay back.
Right away. Here we're able to repay it, you know, and as long as everything goes okay, then you don't take that hit, but you're still paying interest, and you know, it's not the answer. It's just not the answer. And
that's the thing. Like I said, you're just curing the symptom, and unless you figure out what you're doing wrong or why you're doing that, you're just going to do the exact same thing again, which is what happened to us 2 or 3 times, maybe 4.
Exactly. Well, if you think about it, I mean, if you've got $15,000 in debt, that is because in a year or however long it took you, you spent $15,000 more than you brought in. That's what it really boils down to. And so there's the answer right there. You're spending more than you're making. And, you know, I feel like I used to be one of those princesses who would be like, I'm not going to budget. That budgeting is, you know, that's for those who, you know, who have to restrict themselves and all this. I don't actually think that budgeting is restricting yourself. It's just being honest with yourself on saying, here's how much I'm going to bring in and here's how I'm going to divide it. And if that does not balance and if it doesn't match, there's your deficit right there. And you just can't keep that up long term.
Yeah.
It'll get you.
So you have a YouTube channel.
Yes,
you're also
I do.
You're very active on Instagram.
I try to be. I've been kind of MIA lately. It's been real busy at work, you know, gazelle intensity right now in baby step 3. But I try.
Yeah. So what do you think it is that called you to start the YouTube channel and start posting on Instagram? What it was about, you know, teaching and showing others how to properly deal with money? Or maybe that's what it is.
I think.
What was it that called you to do that?
Yeah, it's such a good question. You know, I thought about this a lot, and I think there's a lot of answers. There's really a lot of answers. And you and I kind of talked about this a few days ago, but I've been thinking about this a lot ever since then. And I actually think that the number one thing that makes me so passionate about it is something about that one day that I read that book, that first day of my debt-free journey. I was given permission. I was told for the first time ever, you don't have to be in debt, actually.
Right.
You don't actually have to live this way. You don't actually have to ruin your life. There is another way. Here are the steps.
if you just do this, you can turn around. And, you know, in a world where I was just getting so wrapped up in the stuff and the look of it all, and, you know, keeping up with the Joneses, as we say here in the US, you know, I think I'm just really passionate about getting the word out there that you don't actually have to do this. You know, everyone is telling you that, you know, you have to be in debt because it's so normal to have a car payment, and it's so normal to have credit cards, and it's so normal to, you know, to just do whatever and then pay the consequences later. And that is the norm. That is the normal mindset. And for me, it just took that one seed of just that one moment of someone telling me that you don't actually have to do that. That actually isn't the only answer. And so for me, that's kind of what it really boils down to, is just getting the word out there in as many different places as possible that you don't have to do this. It's okay. You can turn around. And that's all it took for me. And I went off running. And so I want people to hear that. I want my kids to hear that. It's part of their legacy. Again, kind of bombarding them with a different mindset than what they are hearing everywhere else they go. Right.
So do you read a lot of books?
I do. Well, I used to read a ton. I mean, I would blaze through books. In fact, that probably was what built up plenty of my credit card debt, was buying books, you know. And you know, ever since having kids and working a lot and things, I'd kind of gotten out of the habit of it. And I kind of think that actually some of that did lead me to go into more debt, because I was feeding, you know, a creative need that I had that I was not getting. And so I would just fill that with shopping, you know, because that's kind of a creative outlet for me too. And, you know, reading used to be a creative outlet for me, and I had a lot of others. And then just with time restrictions and things. And I think we just kind of get into that hard routine where we don't have the time, and we medicate ourselves by going out for food and for entertainment and shopping and things. And so, but I kind of had stopped for a long time there. And thank goodness, you know, Dave Ramsey talks a lot, not just about finances, but also about having a well-rounded life in those different areas. I don't think I can name them off the top of my head, but it's like every year you should really set goals for yourself, not just financially, but spiritually, relationally, you know, educationally, career-wise, friend-wise, all those different areas. And so I have challenged myself to read more books or listen to more audiobooks. And I'm really grateful that he does look at the whole person, and he encourages that, because it's gotten me back into reading more. And I still don't read as much as I used to, but yeah, I definitely am doing more of that lately. And I found some really, really life-changing books that have supported everything.
It's funny. I don't know if you were the same, but for me, when I went through that debt-free journey and I started learning about money, and then I kind of morphed into learning about investments.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I morphed into learning about public speaking and how to present yourself just in a better manner. So I feel like when you go through that journey, it helps to just, as an overall, make you just a better, I don't know if better person is the right word, but
it is. You know, that is the word. It does. You are a
better human being.
Yes. And I think once you kind of get going on that, you like start to crave knowledge. You are like, oh my gosh, I can actually control my life. How about that? I never knew that before. I actually have control. And so I think that does kind of spur you. And I don't, you know, it's led into other areas of my life too, you know, other areas that I really didn't have very good control over, and has since gotten me to the point where I've tackled those things as well. And I do just feel overall stronger as a person. I'm stronger in my faith. I'm stronger, you know, with my husband. I mean, you know, we've always had a wonderful relationship. We have been together since I was 14 years old. We have been together for 20 years, and we've been married for almost 11 years now. And so, you know, we have a wonderful relationship, and he is so amazing. But money, you know, money, it's always such a stressor. And we would have the biggest knockdown, drag out fights. You know, we just don't have that ever anymore. Ever. I mean,
we're the same. My wife always tells people, if we wouldn't have switched what we were doing and changed what we were doing, that she's like, oh, we probably wouldn't be together.
I think that happens all the time. I think that is so common. Well, Dave Ramsey says it is one of the biggest reasons for divorce is money fights and money problems.
Right.
So, I mean, I agree. And so it's helped me in every area, and it's just made me, want to learn about that and read books. That helped in all of those different areas, because now I'm so craving to better myself.
Right.
I'm just like every day what can I do? What can I do to get better and better and better and better?
Right. So do you have anything that you recommend or that you really like?
Oh, yes,
Books that
I
you
do.
enjoy?
I have some very good recommendations. So I'm sure many people listening to this have probably read The Total Money Makeover, but just in case, you've got to read that book. It is life-changing. It's probably my
Yes.
number one life-changing book I have ever read in my life.
Yeah. If you're listening to this and you haven't paid off debt yet, or you haven't started
Yes.
your journey and you don't know about Dave Ramsey, you need to read that book.
Yes, you do.
Because you'll read it and it'll literally, a light goes off in your head. Ding, ding, ding.
Yes.
What have I been doing for the last X amount of years?
Yes.
Holy crap.
So well said. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I could not agree more. And, you can get it at the library. You don't have to put money out for this stuff. You can get it at the library. And, if you don't have the time, listen to the audiobook, find a way to get it done. And for those people out there who are maybe not the best readers or not in the habit of reading, it's a very easy book to understand. That's one of the reasons I love it so much, is because I was completely ignorant when it came to financial terminology. I had no understanding, no clue at all. And Dave Ramsey,
As was I.
he just breaks it down. He explains it so well. And you just leave with a better understanding of it in just simple terms. And so don't be, don't be nervous to tackle that book, because you will understand it so much better once you read it. And so that's a big one. Anyone who hasn't read that really should. And if you have, maybe you should read it again. Other ones are, I really think that I was kind of alluding to the fact that I sort of was medicating, myself with entertainment and food and shopping and all these things. And so I really think that, especially for us women, who have had kids and, we're going through all of this crazy stuff in our lives, it's really important that we have our health on track. And,
Right.
Hormone things and, our adrenals and all of this stuff that just gets very tanked because we run and run and run all the time. And so the book, The Mood Cure, was a life changer for me. And I actually think it's helped me on my debt-free journey. And I know that sounds crazy, but when you get your health better and you are not having this need for constant uppers all the time, like get something to give me some energy, then you don't seek that out quite as much. And it's easier to say no. And it's easier to be in control. And, those lifestyle changes that we need to practice that self-care. And that book is by Julia Ross. And I love that one. And that's for men too. That's not just for women, but I really think, especially for the ladies out there who are in my age bracket, I'm 34, with little kids, it's very, very important we take care of our health on this. And it will help your debt-free journey. It will.
Right.
Then I am reading right now, and this
I do.
book by David Goggins. It's called Can't Hurt Me. And it is so good. I ran across this guy on YouTube, and he kind of scared me a little bit because he is seriously intense, but he will just give it to you straight, kind of like Dave Ramsey did, where he'll just say, you're stupid, you need to fix this. It's okay to
Right.
say you're stupid. You're not putting yourself down. You are identifying a problem and you're taking action against it. You're not just being a victim and wallowing around and beating yourself up for being stupid. You say it, you hold yourself accountable, and you do something about it. And so this book, it's just amazing. I highly, highly recommend it. It's just this guy's, his life story about, he just grew up in the worst of situations. And I think there's lots of people out there who have that, but he overcame it just by hardening his mind. His whole thing is exactly what I've been talking about, which is hardening your mind, changing your internal voice. And it's so important because we've got to have, when we don't have motivation, when we don't have that drive, when we're tired, those are the times that we fall off. And it's not when we're on a high, that we need this stuff. It's when we're dying on the vine. That's when we need the things that he teaches,
Right.
so to be strong and to just fight through it. So that's a really good one. I love Gary Chapman and his 5 love languages. What's even better is the 5 languages of apology. I've needed that one a few times from my husband. And then the last would be Dr. Henry Cloud's book Boundaries, which Dave Ramsey recommends a lot. That's a really, really important one for people. And EntreLeadership, also by Dave Ramsey, is amazing. Everyone in his group, their books are all excellent.
Yeah, I really like Ken Coleman. I listen to his podcast a lot.
Yes, I love
really,
Ken
really
Coleman.
good.
Yes, I have been listening to his a little bit more lately, especially since they just did their big EntreLeadership Summit. So I've been listening to a few more of it. Actually, that's where I found David Goggins. He was, that's where it was. He was on the Ken Coleman show.
Oh, okay.
And so that's where I initially heard about him. So yeah, check that one out. Go on to Ken Coleman and check out David Goggins. I mean, watch out. If you're offended by nasty language, don't watch it, because he does not hold back, but he keeps it under wraps on the Ken Coleman show. But I love him. He's awesome. Both of those guys are awesome.
All right. Where you live, the best place, if I was coming there, what is the best place to go and eat at? I know you've been really disappointed with restaurants lately.
Yes, I have.
But if you had to pick a place, money wasn't an object. It can be a fast food or a fancy restaurant. If you had to pick one, where are you going?
Well, my favorite is a teppanyaki kind of place in town. Like a Benihana kind of style. There's a local one, and I mean, I'll tell you what, you are kind of taking your life in your hands to go there, because it is like a hole in the wall, but it is so good. Love that kind of food. And that one's one where we will, if there's a birthday or kind of a bigger event or something that we're celebrating, we will go there. But it's one of the only places that I like in town these days, because I swear I cannot deal with the inconsistency of all of these restaurants and how expensive they are. And then half the time the service is terrible, the food is not good, So I have that place and maybe only one or two others where I know exactly what I'm going to get. It's going to be the same every time. It's a great value, So that is kind of what I'm after. But oh yeah, it's really good. It's really good.
Cool. And then you don't have to give me 3, even if you have just one. The best piece of advice you could give somebody who is either currently on a debt-free journey or, they're thinking about starting one. What's the best piece of advice you could give them?
Oh, I mean, I could give you 30, I think if we're talking more, tactical, I mean, you have to have a budget. You have to have a budget. You just got to do it. People do it without it, and it's okay. They just spend as little as possible, but you are still going to find more money that you did not realize you were wasting when you have a budget, and it will give you such a sense of control that it's worth it to have it. I hated it at first, and now I can't live without it. It gives me such peace. So you've got to have a budget. You got to get your partner on board. If you have someone else in the house that's spending money with you, those kinds of basic things. And then kind of more on just a philosophical level, like I've kind of alluded to before, you can't rely on motivation, because you are not always motivated. You have to be able to do it on your own in those times when you are down and when you don't feel like it. And, those are the times where you might make a little mistake, but you've got to get right back up, and you've got to hold yourself accountable only, and don't rely on anyone else. It's you. You're the one. You do it, and everyone else around you can help you. Certainly if there's a way to get motivated, or if there is someone there to help you, use that, but don't rely on it.
Right.
Be creative, stretch your budget as much as you possibly can. Find ways. If you can't work more, find ways to spend less. I think we need to give ourselves credit for not only how much we're paying off debt, but I think that especially for maybe moms who are, who stay at home, I think that the appreciation of our home economy is huge. And this is something I did not give myself credit for a really long time. And I really think it's important that we don't just focus on how much we're paying off, but how much we're saving ourselves also. So like the haircut, saving that. I mean, that's a lot of work for me. I do, 4 haircuts. I cut my dad's hair too, and he pays me. Every 4 weeks, I'm doing 4 haircuts on my day off,
But it's those things, it's the groceries that you're saving money on. Those all need to be celebrated as well because they are very, very valuable. I think that philosophical stuff is so, so important too.
Right. So you were talking about stretching your budget, and you have a YouTube channel.
Yes, I do.
Your YouTube channel talks a lot about being able to stretch your budget on food prep
Yes.
or little money hacks.
Yeah.
So what kind of things exactly do you talk about on there? That's basically what it is I know you're very into food prep.
I am. And it's so funny, Jeff,
the channel.
because I'll tell you, I don't even know who I am anymore, because if I had met myself 2 years ago, I literally would not have any clue who I was. I'm a girl who does not color her hair and cooks every meal at home from scratch and doesn't shop. What is happening here? But yes, I talk all about, I think my main pillars on my YouTube channel are kind of focusing on this hardening your mind and getting used to doing it alone and not relying on motivation, even, using those things when you have them, but not to rely on them, because you won't have those 100% of the time. And you have to be able to see it through even when you're weak and when you're on your own. If you're out at work and you have a 10-minute break, it's so easy to go drop $20. Those are the times when you have to be able to do it on your own. So that's a huge piece of what I do. And I'm going to be rolling out a lot more content on that, because I'm way fired up about it right now after reading this David Goggins book. But also just general, money saving tips. But I feel like there's so much content already out there about that kind of stuff that I feel like people can find that elsewhere. And so I'm really trying to just fill in the holes on things that I figured out that I haven't really seen on YouTube. And so the food prep is a huge one for me. And so one of my very favorite YouTubers, her name is Debt Kickin' Mom. They actually just paid off their debt, and now they're all the way through baby step 3 already. But her channel introduced me to this concept of zero food waste. And I think and the idea of, not having this scarcity mindset, but abundance mindset. And so I would always be one who I would need excess of everything, excess clothes, excess food, excess, I don't know why. I don't know why. I've never had scarcity. It's not like I was ever starved as a child or didn't have clothes to wear, but I just have this sense of, I need all this excess. And so that happened with food too. And I ended up throwing a ton of it away. And I was probably a good 7 months into my debt-free journey. And this was still happening to a lesser degree, but was still definitely happening. And so I have really learned the processes of, like we talked about, the Sunday meal prep, where you cook everything all at once. And then that way it's ready to go. You're not tempted to go out during the middle of the week, even when you're tired, because it's just there. It's there in the fridge. Batch cooking, freezer prep, zero food waste. But then I kind of came up with my own little hack that I am really trying to put out there, because this is what kind of sealed the deal for me and really brought it all together. And so for anyone out there who really is not good at food prep and is really inconsistent and struggles to do it, this was what saved me, was that we are not a family that really loves leftovers all that much. We'll do it. We will eat it. And I figured out some ways to make leftovers taste. I'm going to be rolling out a video on that here soon, ways to. But I prefer, to that end, when you batch cook, you'll make 10 of the same thing. You'll make 10 enchiladas and put them in your freezer. But then what do? Then you've got 10 enchiladas and that's all you've got to eat. And so my food networking I sort of already pre-explained this, and I won't go into huge detail because you can find everything on my YouTube channel. But essentially what it is kind of shopping around, finding whatever meat you can that is at its lowest price. And then you have preset meals that you will make with that, a network of 7 or so meals, but then you'll combine the batch cooking and all that with it. But then you have a variety. And I batch cook things in smaller, like casserole dishes and things, so that it's just enough portion for, for that one meal, so we don't end up having leftovers. So I might take, I might make 2 enchiladas, but I'll split them smaller. And so then we might have them twice, but they're fresh from the oven each time. And so basically, if it was ground beef, let's say, I will cook 5 pounds of ground beef or 10 pounds of ground beef all at once. And then I will spread that out, not among 20 enchiladas, but I'll do 2 enchiladas and 2 things of sloppy joes and 2 things of tacos and 2, I'll spread that out among multiple different meals so that we are taking advantage of the batch cooking and the Sunday meal prep and the freezer prep and all of that, and zero food waste because we're using it all immediately and freezing it. But there's a little bit more variety in there, and then it's the right portion. And so it's helped things come full circle. And so I do have multiple food networks that are out. I even have mini food networks on side dishes because side dishes take a long time. And if you can network those out among different meals too, it's really helpful. And so I've got multiple base meats like ground beef, one for chicken, one for, pulled pork. I'm rolling out a bunch more here as the weeks go on with ham and steak and all kinds of different ones. So check it out if that's something that's interesting for you.
So if people want to check that out, your YouTube channel is?
It is Cash is Queen 77. And so I think if you just go into YouTube and type in Cash is Queen, it pops up, especially if you type in Cash is Queen food networking, it will definitely pop up for you. But you can also go to my Instagram and click on the link there and it will lead you to my channel. And then you'll be able to see all of, there's a whole playlist on that stuff and everything else too. So
yeah, so go give her a follow, give her a like.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And share her
We'll
content.
get the word out there.
So this was a ton of fun.
This was awesome.
You were great.
You were. I so enjoyed our time. I appreciate you having me on. It was such an honor. I really appreciate it. I love your stuff, and I just love meeting and talking to other people who are passionate about this stuff and who want to get the word out there because it so desperately needs to be told.
Right.
So thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on. I appreciate you taking the time. I know it's late where you are.
Yes, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much. We'll have to do this again another time. And
sounds good.
Thank you guys all for listening. I really appreciate everyone, and good luck to everyone. And let us know how we can support you. The debt-free community is amazing. If you're just getting started, I encourage you to join in, give it a try. Just search that hashtag debt-free community, and you will find so much content that will give you lots and lots of hope and ideas, functional ideas. So yeah, thank you so much for having me. I so appreciate it.
Yeah, that was great. Thanks.
Awesome. You take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey guys, that's episode 9. Thank you so much for tuning in today and listening to the show. Thank you to Cash is Queen. You were so fun. You were so energetic. I had a blast talking with you today. Guys, go follow her on Instagram. Go subscribe to her YouTube channel. She puts out a ton of good content. You can find both the links to Instagram and YouTube at the bottom of the podcast episode. And if you want to get a hold of me, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter. You can go check out my website for financial coaching at aemoneysolutions.com. You can get a hold of me directly through email at aemoneysolutions@outlook.com. And if you guys are interested in coming on the show, we'd love to have you on so you can talk to others about your debt-free journey, your debt-free payoffs, or if you have questions that you guys want answered or need answered, feel free to send them to me either through my email or Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, and then maybe we can start answering them on the show. So thanks again, guys, for lending your ear to the podcast. I really appreciate it. Thank you so, so much. Without you guys, I don't have a show. So have a good one, guys, and we'll see you in episode 10. Thanks.